In the winter of 1941, a specter of terror haunted the skies of Moscow. The German military, with its devastating power, was closing in on the city. Each day, the roar of Luftwaffe bombers echoed through the air, sowing fear. In the darkest hour of the war, when the Soviet Union seemed on the brink of collapse, an unsung warrior emerged. It was not the famous aircraft of the Western Allies. It did not have the sleek look of a Spitfire or the incredible speed of a P-51 Mustang. But for the people of Moscow, it was their only hope. That was the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-3, a fighter born out of desperation, designed to fight at altitudes no other plane could reach. It was a machine full of paradoxes, capable of flying faster than most rivals at high altitudes, yet struggling at low ones. A machine that demanded superior pilot skill, yet was given to the most inexperienced pilots. So what was the MiG-3? How was it created? And why, despite its deadly flaws in design and production, did it become the silent guardian of Moscow, of the Eastern Front? Join us as we uncover the tragic story of the MiG-3, an aircraft created in a race against time and which fought in a war it was not born to win. To understand the MiG-3, we must go back to the context of the 1930s. As the clouds of war gathered over Europe, the Soviet Union realized it needed a completely new type of fighter, an aircraft fast enough to counter the growing threat from Germany. This was when the design team of Mikoyan-Gurevich was born. Their goals were clear and ambitious: an aircraft that could fly more than 1,000 kilometers, reach a speed above 600 km/h, and have a service ceiling above 12,000 meters. The first version, the MiG-1, was built. It was fast but had a series of fatal flaws, from a short range to instability. But there was no time to waste. The MiG-3 version was rushed into development in just a few months with key improvements: increased stability, added pilot armor, and increased fuel capacity. But from its very inception, the aircraft was embroiled in a scandal. When tests showed the MiG-3's range was far below the initial goal, the head of the Air Force's Scientific Test Institute, Alexander Phelan, publicly stated his findings. However, designer Artem Mikoyan disagreed. In a desperate attempt to prove him wrong, he made two dubious test flights from Moscow to Leningrad. This controversy, combined with poor initial production quality, led to an unimaginable tragedy. Alexander Phelan was charged with anti-Soviet conspiracy and summarily executed. The MiG-3's armament was also a critical weakness. To keep the weight down, it was only equipped with one 12.7mm, two 7.62mm machine guns. This was a firepower considered inadequate, even by 1940 standards. Despite all the unresolved issues, the need for a modern fighter was more pressing. In February 1941, MiG-3 production began. A race against time had started, and this aircraft was about to enter a war for which it was not ready. Despite being in production, the MiG-3 was completely unprepared for the storm to come. In June 1941, Germany's Operation Barbarossa was unleashed. The Soviet Air Force was shattered. Hundreds of MiG-3s were destroyed on the ground, parked in parade-style rows without camouflage or cover. When the surviving aircraft took to the air, a major problem became evident: the pilots. By the time the war began, the Soviet Union had less than 500 fully trained pilots for over 1,000 MiG-3s. This was an unforgiving aircraft. A tragic story from April 1941 proved it. 3 MiG-3s scrambled to intercept a German reconnaissance plane at an altitude of 9 kilometers. All three entered an unrecoverable spin and were lost, and one pilot was killed. The cause? The pilots were too inexperienced, and it was their first time flying at such a high altitude. In the air, the situation was even worse. At low to medium altitudes where most aerial combat occurred, the MiG-3 was completely outclassed by the German Messerschmitt Bf 109. In maneuverability, climb rate, and armament, it was inferior to its opponent. Its only real advantage, high speed at high altitudes, became inconsequential. After only a few months, MiG-3 production was halted. Despite suffering heavy losses, the MiG-3 found its crucial role, becoming the defender of Moscow. With its high service ceiling and good high-altitude speed, it was the only option to intercept the German high-altitude bombers attempting to strike the capital. MiG-3 pilots fought tenaciously, and in 1942, MiG-3s from the 15th Regiment of the 6th Fighter Aviation Corps shot down 72 German aircraft, an impressive number given the dire circumstances. And among those pilots, one became a legend. Alexander Pokryshkin, who would later be considered the third highest scoring Soviet ace. Though his first victory was tragically shooting down a friendly Soviet bomber by mistake, he quickly found the MiG-3's true strength. Pokryshkin achieved 12 victories in this aircraft. He was one of the few who believed in its potential. Pokryshkin once compared the aircraft to a wild stallion. With a skillful rider, it runs like the wind. But if we lose control, we could end up beneath its hooves. He was the one who developed a new tactic, using its high-altitude speed advantage to dive down for an attack and then climb back up. With this approach, Pokryshkin demonstrated that the MiG-3 was not a bad aircraft, but one that demanded a high level of skill. Despite some successes, the fate of the MiG-3 could not be changed. Its limited range became a significant issue, especially as the battlefront expanded. Furthermore, the MiG-3's AM-35A engine was also used for the much more successful Il-2 Sturmovik ground attack aircraft, leading to a production preference for the latter. New fighters like the Yak-1 and Leg-3 also began to emerge, which were better suited for low to medium altitude combat, making the MiG-3 obsolete. Even attempts to improve it were ineffective. Variants with heavier armament, like the MiG-315 and MiG-334, were tested but saw very limited production. They only added weight and further reduced the aircraft's already poor performance. By December 1941, MiG-3 production was halted. The aircraft was gradually withdrawn from the front lines. Although there were some unsuccessful attempts to convert it into a ground attack plane, the MiG-3 fulfilled its final roles as a city defense, reconnaissance, or training aircraft. It holds the sad record among all Soviet fighters, with 132 aircraft destroyed in combat, a number that accounts for nearly half of all those produced. Although it could not change the outcome of the war, the legacy of the MiG-3 lives on. After the war, the Soviet Union captured many German aircraft for study, but it was the experience gained from the MiG-3 that proved invaluable. The lessons learned about its engine, its design, and its fatal flaws helped the team of Mikoyan-Gurevich develop a legendary line of aircraft, from the MiG-9 to the MiG-15, the MiG-21, and many generations of fighters that followed. Today, the MiG-3 is no longer a combat weapon. It has become a valuable historical artifact, a highly sought-after collector's item. Throughout the world, only 3 MiG-3s have been restored, and they do not use the original Soviet engines. Instead, they have been replaced with American engines to ensure operational reliability. This is a clear testament to the original engine's issues. Ultimately, the story of the MiG-3 has become a symbol. It's not just about an aircraft, but about resilience and courage. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, an ambitious idea, even an imperfect one, can leave a lasting legacy. And so, we conclude our journey into the story of the MiG-3, an aircraft born out of desperation, fighting against all odds, and carrying with it some fatal flaws. Its story is not one of a glorious victory, but a reminder that history is not solely written by the winners. The MiG-3 poses a challenging question. Was it the wrong aircraft at the wrong time? Or was the lack of pilot experience the true cause of its tragic losses? Perhaps it was both, but that does not diminish its value. The MiG-3 fulfilled its role in a war that was almost unwinnable. It laid the groundwork for a legendary dynasty of fighter jets, and it lives on in the memory of the soldiers who bravely faced death to defend their homeland. If you believe that the story of the MiG-3 and its role in history deserve to be remembered, please like, share, and subscribe to help keep history alive. Thank you for exploring this legend with us.